Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson here. We are back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored, where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. So we are excited because we have a special guest. Todd Miller is with us today. So we'll be talking about crowdsourced home valuations, how he became at one point the #1 team in KW around the world back in the REO days, and some lessons learned from that, as well as what's going on with the app Homing In that he is developing and is coming out basically right now. It's already out on Apple and iOS devices, so we'll talk more with him about that. So while we wait for people to join us live, just want to speak to anyone that's watching the replay here on YouTube. Make sure to hit subscribe, and then if you prefer the audio version, nestled right here in between your ears where we so belong, make sure to subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher. Yes, right in there. Greg, what's up today? Since you're interjecting, the co-pilot, the Grandmaster himself, what's up?
What's up, Big Pimpin'? Hey, buddy. It has been a blessed day. I have been, for some dumbass reason, my body popped me up at 3:45 this morning, just like, bing, you're up, dipshit. What are you going to do with me? And so I have been sitting there tinkering on Facebook. I have been prepping for this show. I have, starting to become slightly sleep deprived. But I'll tell you one thing. I've been getting inundated more and more with more of our amazingly beautiful, wonderful, kind, incredible listeners that keep hitting me up. And I have one shout out I'm going to do here in a few minutes to this incredible woman who has a favorite thing that I do in this show, which in that thing makes you cringe. So I wonder what it is, Matt.
I don't know. There's a lot that you do, Greg, that makes me cringe. So there's such a wide range of things that she can pick from.
I know, but I thought I'd try to bait you. Apparently it didn't work. You're like, yeah, whatever. It's going to be 90% of what you do.
All right. Well, what do you say we bring in our special guest, Todd Miller? Todd, what's up today?
Not much. Thank you very much for having me on the show. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on. So you're an interesting guy, and you've got a lot of cool stuff to share. But we'll start off because it's funny when we were talking about just what we're going to go over today, and you shared some things that were on your mind recently, some of the funny things that had happened in the past. Mm-hmm. We talk about Zillow and Zestimates and stuff like that. We'll get into this, but this struck me as funny. So we always start the show off with a question from like one of the Facebook groups that me and Greg are a part of. As I'm scrolling through, like the third question I run across is from page 2. It says, somewhere I remember hearing stats on the percentage of times Zestimates are wrong. Does anybody have access to that data? And it just made me laugh because this data has been out there for a while, and you have a very amusing story about that because you've been in the game for quite a while, and you're one of the first ones that came out and basically said that I believe your exact phrasing was "Why Zillow sucks" or something to that effect. So
it was the title of a video blog which you cannot find anymore. I did of the 500 plus videos I've done, that one no longer exists. I made a personal decision to take it off.
Oh, I thought they cut you off. I'm like, okay, so
no. So Zillow's not that powerful.
Okay, all right, just to clarify.
Yeah.
They're reaching into your own email and plucking it out. Yeah, no. Well, that's good to know.
All right, so what's the story behind that video and the Twitter war with Spencer Raskoff?
Well, it was pretty straightforward. I just did a video. We were seeing some problems with consumers coming to us going, oh, we're under contract, but we're canceling because we just realized we're overpaying because the Zestimate is off. And I got a little frustrated, so I did a frustration video about the Zestimate, and probably said some things I shouldn't have said, but I thought they were truthful. And Spencer, CEO of Zillow, saw my video blog, and we were tweeting back and forth for a while about basically arguing. And it was amusing on my end because I had no idea who he was. I was just responding, and it took me a while to figure out. And then, I guess when you don't realize, you don't care. So I just thought it was some. I had thousands of people that follow the video blog, so I just thought it was one of them.
You're like, damn it, who's this crazy person that won't leave me alone? They're so annoying. What is your issue? Oh, Mr. CEO. Shit.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
But in the real estate community, I think we're pretty well aware that the Zestimate's not necessarily very accurate, and I think the consumer, because when I promote the app and I tell people I say, do you know what the Zestimate is? Seriously, like 70% of them laugh. Like they chuckle a little. They roll their eyes. Yeah, I know, and I've checked, and there's no way my house is whatever the Zestimate says it's worth. So
yeah.
But,
what is that percentage, by the way? Is it 20? Because it ranges, when other articles I've read, is anywhere from 7, 10, 20, 30, and even up to 61% off. So,
well, Yeah, Zillow says 8 on average. But the problem with that is if that's the median or average number, half of them are more than 8. So when you have half your valuations off by more than 8%, that means you're greater than 8% more than half the time. That's huge because it's 40 grand on a $50,000 house. And I actually have a specific example of a guy who sold his house up in Seattle recently. I don't know if you're interested in hearing it.
I'd love to hear that example.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, we do.
So there was this house for sale, and it was listed for like $1.3 million something. And I put it myself into the Homing In app, and a local agent in the Seattle area, a guy named Kwesi Bowie, responded saying that the house wasn't worth 1.3, whatever it was listed for. It was worth $1.1 million basically, and 1.1 million. So, and it had a Zestimate that was really high, right? It was like out of the blue. Well, about 6 months later, so last month, this house closed, and it closed for $1,050,000. So the agent was very close. When it closed, I took a snapshot of the page that showed the Zestimate, and even though it just closed at $1,050,000, the Zestimate said it was worth $1.77 million. So it's off by basically $700,000. And the reason I point out the story is because it was Spencer Raskoff's house. It was his personal house. So you would think somebody at Zillow.
The irony is so delicious. It's like an afternoon snack.
Change that one. Let's just go change it because it says recent sale, 1.05 million. Zestimate 1.77. And the thing is the Zestimate was only like 1.4 6 months ago. So maybe the market's improved, but it was already off on the estimate. Now it just made it even more so. So
and then an actual sale proved how bad it was off.
The agent was within a few percent.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
That is, hey, nothing's better than a live human being, right?
Yeah.
No matter.
Yeah, so give us the skinny real quick before we get into some shout outs, and then we dive into some of the other things we have to ask you about because you've got a really fascinating background. But just kind of fill people in a little bit on what you mean by the Homing In app and what you did to get that agent to give you the basically the valuation that was that close to what it actually sold for.
It's a pretty straightforward process. The consumer downloads the app. It's a free app. They select their address from a list of choices. They can manually type it in. They take pictures of their house that we guide them through. We say, hey, look, we need the front, the kitchen, living room, bathroom, the back, everything. And then anything you think is special about the house, and then they submit it. And then what happens is agents who have subscribed to those zip codes get a notification saying, hey, a homeowner wants to know what their house is worth. So the agent can see the address, so they can go into their MLS or their public tax records, look at the data, look through the pictures, swipe through the pictures, and then make a decision based on, the way I do it is because we do this in Vegas and we've done a lot of them here, I just look at the comps and I look at the pictures of the comps and I look at the pictures in the app that the consumer put and I go, oh, this is most like this house, so it's probably closer in value to this one. And the agent just responds with a value, anything they want to say to the consumer, and then the consumer gets a notification with all the information. The consumer can get 10 of these back from real estate agents. Consumer gets all the agent contact info. They can always reach out to the agent if they have more questions, or if they just want the house, they want to hire that agent, they can just call the agent.
I like that. So I actually, as we were just doing our pre-show warm-up, I was downloading it. I just got it. So I am now a user of Homing In, and I am
Thank you very much. Congrats.
Hey,
I
know.
Yeah. So Greg's going to tinker around with it, and is there any specific markets where it's available, not available, or is it nationwide already?
We've actually had people in Queensland, Australia, in Canada use the app, and it'll work anywhere there's a nearby real estate agent.
Perfect.
Right now, we probably have 125 across the country that haven't even been responded to because I just don't have enough agents signed up because the agents aren't aware of the app. It's going to be a featured app in the App Store hopefully next month. I have a call with the featured team next week, and it's a no-brainer for real estate agents, I think. If you want more listings, and this is a great way to get them.
I would love to get that list of the 125 and be, on behalf of Homing In, hook them up with a qualified agent in their area.
There you go.
For a low fee of 25%.
Yeah, no referral fees. No referral fees.
Damn it.
That.
Yeah. Well, that's so one of the things we want to do on the show. Obviously, it's about blending high tech and high touch. So if there's like when we run into people that have something that they're putting out that's interesting that we think is genuinely helpful to agents, that it's not just another way to promote something to agents and shave money off of your lead gen budget. So I mean, this is something that's really innovative. It's something that could really take off. It would benefit the consumers because they get better, high quality, more on the ground information. It also benefits the agents by giving them a better way, because right now nobody finds listing agents online. It's all referral, it's all yard signs and all that stuff. If we can flip that around, and there's an app out there that homeowners can use for free, and they can actually get hooked up with qualified, rated, and reviewed listing agents, that would be huge, and it would turn over the way that that agents get listings.
Yeah, we need to do this. I mean, it has to be done. I mean, there's so many dipshits out there that are getting leads and they're not doing anything with them. 48% of all agents or salespeople in general will never follow up with a lead one time. So if you want Ding Dong Magoo over here that's going to, trip, fall, and then squish that beautiful lead, or get someone who's qualified that can actually handle it, oh man, our reputation might come out of the mud. That would be nice.
That's right. Well,
yep. No, I
yes,
agree.
That's true.
Agree completely.
Yeah. So I encourage everybody to take a look at that. We'll talk a little bit more about it, and when we get into like Todd's story, and we'll talk a little bit more about the app. But there was another question actually that caught my eye, and it goes back to your story, Todd, and kind of what your experience is. But I'm curious if you want to tackle this question a little bit. So there's a gal named Jusu Kim. She asks, do you have any tips on dealing with short sale and foreclosure properties? I am working as a buyer's agent. So obviously, Todd, you're dealing with it mostly from the listing perspective, but this is like your bread and butter and has been for a long time. So do you have any tips for the people on the other side of the transaction from you, the buyer's agents that are dealing with the short sale or foreclosure?
Yeah, I'd say for short sale, the most important thing for the agent is to really understand the process and be able to be a good setter of expectation for their clients, because there can be some really good values in a short sale for the consumer if they're patient. If they have that 4, 5, 6 months to wait it out, because it's not a normal market. It's not like the house goes on the market, you get 4 offers, it closes a month later, someone moves in, which is what people want. They don't want to wait around for a maybe. Yeah. So there's an economic benefit. Most of the flippers right now are actually looking at one of the things they're doing, since a lot of the trustee sales have dried up, is they're going after the short sales. They buy them at short sale. They wait the 6 months, since they're not out of pocket. It's even better for them. They don't have carrying costs now, right? Because someone else is living in it. They don't have any money in the deal. And then what they do is 6 months later, when it closes, it goes right back on the market. Now it's a regular sale. They don't have to deal with a short sale. So it's a sexy one for flippers. So the agents that are out there working with these people, whether they're a flipper or a homeowner, they need to understand that. REOs, of course, have been my wife and I's bread and butter. We've done over 3,000 listing sides. And really, it's about them really, really, really understanding the banks and their processes. We see people all the time leave money on the table for their client because they don't understand what Fannie and Freddie can and can't pay, and then how to massage their offer to get accepted in a way where it's not like they negotiated a ton of closing costs, but then their client only has a few closing costs, and there's all this money left over that goes back to Fannie or Freddie because the agent wasn't savvy enough to figure out a way to either get more things rolled into closing costs or get the price down and less closing costs. So that's the biggest one we see is agents, $3,000 left on the table that Fannie would have given them, but they couldn't find a way to use it for their loan program or whatever.
That's just another example of why you need to use an expert in different fields. So, I mean, for us, we don't do a lot of foreclosures or short sales in our marketplace. We never really got on that bandwagon. So, if that ever comes back around, I mean, I think it's imperative that, people don't try to do something they have a weakness in, but go find you, get a 25% referral fee, refer it over to you. You can handle this and run it like a pro and be able to get these people, the most amount of money they possibly can.
Yeah, I think there's one thing that's really interesting in real estate that, the attorneys do it more than we do, and I don't think they have any better reputation than we do, but an attorney who doesn't practice in a certain field will refer it out. Like, ooh, you have a blah, blah, blah case. I don't do that, but I'll refer it to this guy. In real estate, people tend to grab onto people and then want to, I've never done one of these, but I'll try it. And I think that's a disservice to the consumer.
I could agree with you more.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, because, I mean, if I try to bumble my way through the dark, I'm going to bump into a lot of walls. But if you've already got the mag light and you know you can see exactly where you're going down this dark path and lead them, into safety, what am I doing? I'm just being an ass.
Yeah, we had a case where somebody came in and said, I want to buy a $600,000 to $800,000 house, and they came to my wife directly, and that's great because in our market that's like 3 or 4 times the normal sale price, right? And my wife just said, I don't represent buyers. We only do listings. We've probably done 20 buyer sides and 3,000+ listing sides. So we actually referred it to an agent in our. We handed off the client to someone in our office. An agent said, "Hey, just give us a referral fee, take care of these people." But we're not gonna, we're not really good at working with buyers. You're really good at it, not us. So.
Another example of that is don't be a real estate whore. I mean, don't say I'm going to work everywhere. I know everything about everything. I mean, that's like me saying, you know what, I work here in the East Bay, but I know everything about the Peninsula, San Jose, San Francisco, the North Bay, and everything else. Dude, you're so full of crap. You're going to help them buy a bad property most likely because you don't understand that 2 blocks up or 2 blocks down, you could get another $200,000 plus or minus, and you'd hand it off. It's the easiest money besides it's the drive time. I mean, just make 25% on the referral, put them in someone's good hands, and you're out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does come down to probably a scarcity versus an abundance mindset, and having enough lead flow into your business that you're confident referring those out. I think that's why Todd, you mentioned like kind of glomming onto people. Mm-hmm. That's why they do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, they do. And they say, well, but one day they'll learn their lesson.
Well, let's hope
hopefully,
so.
Hopefully, it's not going to be with our listing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, we've dealt with those. The agent who doesn't know what they're doing, that's the worst from our side that you can possibly have. Yeah.
It is the worst. See this one right here? You guys see her? There she is. That's Eileen. That's our team manager. Wait, Eileen, wave to the world. She's not going to wave to the world.
No, shy.
I mean, yeah, she hates the camera, and that means I put her on camera every day. But what she does, I mean, she will literally have to work both sides of the deal on coordinating because the other dipshit doesn't, they don't know they need to put a disclosure in. Or do I need to disclose that the neighbor's dog bites kids? Yeah, you do. That kind of stuff. It's just asinine, and I'm glad that we're all here doing helping folks become better.
What is it that you say, Greg? Saving people from bad brokers?
Our team's motto is we're the McDaniel Callahan's team. We want to keep good people away from bad brokers, which is like 80% of them, but not the listeners of this show.
That's right, because to specialize. All right.
Yes.
What do you say we give a couple of shout-outs real quick, and then we'll dig into Todd's background and how he got into REOs and sold 3,000 list sides.
Wow. I want to hear this story. See, I got my yellow pad out, Matt. I'm taking notes.
Okay.
That's right. As well you should. All right. So number one for me for shout-outs. So viral marketing, check them out. Go to getviral.com. We're also building a page where you can see Greg's campaigns and request a consultation directly through there to actually see what Greg's doing. So that is coming. But just want to publicly thank them for helping run his real estate video blog, and they do a fantastic job over there. So make sure to check them out. And then if you want to learn how to build a dominant real estate team, make sure to check out Jeff Cohn and his team building workshop at eliterealestatesystems.com. We just did his workshop on the road up in Ottawa, Canada. That went really good. Looking at some of the video for that. And so we'll be posting some of that. And then we just did an interview that was just posted on the website with Brian Eisenhower, who built the #1 fastest growing KW office in the world last year. Went from 50 to 350 agents in only 2.5 years. Something ridiculous like that. Brian is an awesome guy. And so make sure to check out that hangout and check out the workshops while you're there. So Greg, who do you have to shout out?
Matt, I have the most amazing people on planet Earth to talk about. That's the fact of the matter, and you can check the books. So I have, as always, get the opportunity to talk to amazing people. I got a text message this morning quite early, and it was from a wonderful woman named Eileen. She's in Hawaii. She sells luxury real estate, and Matt, I have just booked her for the MCC, the McDaniel Challenge, for June 1st.
Holy cow. It's a ways off.
It is a ways off. She actually chose it. I had about 3 other appointments in May. Dude, my next appointment is May 20. Ah, crap. Come on, Greg. May 25th, dude. I only have 3 more in May, and then we're into June. I mean, it's unbelievable how far we're booking out. So, guys, you guys got to get on the McDaniel Challenge if you guys want to do it. But so we got Eileen, and Matt, guess what she loves?
What's
Everybody
up?
who don't like cuss words, cover your ears. She loves it when I say fuck. She's like texted me in all caps. She's like, and I P.S. I love your F-bombs. Big huge smiley face.
Don't encourage them. Don't. That's my message to the viewers. Do not encourage them.
Oh, encourage. If you like it, you tell me. You guys always give me thumbs up on that stuff. I talked to Ty. He's a television producer that Rod uses in San Diego. We are in very aggressive talks to be bringing the show to San Francisco, and then we may be starting our first episode in the next couple of weeks, and getting it down to, we'll air it in Southern California first to about 10 million homes, and then we'll bring it up to, he's going to do a deal here in the Bay, and we'll launch it here in the Bay as well. So we'll probably launch something statewide with him.
Nice.
Super pumped. I'm going to knock the fucking doors off that thing, dude. People are going to fall in love with me, and they don't even know it. I got a hold of Nikki. She is in North Carolina. She and I are going to do the MCC McDaniel Challenge. Dude, Nikki, knuckle punches to you. I can't wait. Andre did the call with him last night. He was awesome, even though he was out with a very beautiful lady friend. He's in Florida. He took 36 minutes to talk with me, which is by far a land record of how the shortest McDaniel Challenge I have ever done. I literally walked around in my condo going, so what am I going to do with all this extra time I have? I literally just did circles in my house for about a minute or two. Like, I got to do something. I'm so used to doing these calls, right? And then we had William out of L.A. on Monday. Dude, he and I had a long talk, but I think we got a lot of stuff hammered out for him. John Earl is tonight, big player. Again, knuckles to you, my friend. I cannot wait. We are going to have an absolute freaking blast. Done.
All right. How do people take the McDaniel Challenge before you forget?
I will never forget about my challenge. The McDaniel Challenge, guys, it is super, super easy. You just heard it. I have 3 more dates in May, then we're into June. Get your asses off the freaking fence and stinking call me. This is my cell phone. I swear to God, I pay the bills. It does work. So if you hit these numbers in sequential order, you better do it right. You're not going to get me. You're going to get 925, 915, 1978, 925, 915, 1978. Text me, call me, book a time. The McDaniel Challenge is about an hour and a half to 2 hours, give or take, or 36 minutes if you're Andre. And it's just when you guys get free coaching. We're going to probably unravel, unpack what you're currently doing, give you tips, tricks, strategies. We're going to talk about the Homing In app now because I'm going to play with it and get that word out on that. But give you what you are lacking in your current business to get you to where you want to be. We're going to custom build a marketing and prospecting plan just for you. So, you guys, please don't sit on the fence and say, oh, I'm not ready, oh, I can't do it, whatever bullshit excuse you're going to come up with, and just do it. I'm nice. There's no gimmicks, and just call me. Okay? Matt, what's the number they need to use?
925-915-1978.
Bam! Right out of the gate. What a pimp.
All right. So do that. And then check out the website, McDanielRealEstateSystems.com, and 2 things to check out. Number 1 is the free scripts, Greg's favorite scripts. So that download is linked up free at the very top of the website. And then next to that is the farming training video course. You can get that. It's $99. Super cheap, 10 hours of content plus 2 videos on how to actually use Zillow for what it's good for, which is not those estimates, but other things, and then how to run events in your farm. So really, really good stuff. So with that said, Todd, let's get back to you, and I want to dive into your background, and let's get into kind of how you kind of found out about the REO kind of foreclosure short sale area when the market was dipping, and what made you really decide to double down, and how did you double down, really go after that market?
So my wife and I, when we made a decision to only focus on listings, and then have some agents on our team that would just do all the buyer sides. So we were doing the traditional stuff, for sale by owners, expired listings, sphere of influence. And a buddy of mine who's an attorney called me and said, hey, I need you, I could pay you like $200 an hour. I need an expert witness in a court to be an evaluation witness, just a broker price opinion. And I'd never heard the term before, BPO. I go, okay, whatever. So he had me pull comps on a property, and I spent like 2 hours in a courtroom on the stand with one attorney, the other attorney, and the judge, and it was a bankruptcy case, right? And so what had happened was they had declared bankruptcy, but the bank was trying to foreclose, and they couldn't because the bankruptcy was stopping it. So they were trying to get the bankruptcy court to release the house back to the bank so they could sell it as an REO. And the people wouldn't do it because they were trying to sell it themselves. And it was way overpriced. They were just overlisted it to keep it on the market so they could stay in the house, right? And I was successful because at the end of the thing, he basically ordered the house to be turned over. And we walked out, and I asked my buddy, I said, so who's going to get that listing? I mean, I want that listing. I just, I got it released to your bank. And he goes, the bank, the way they work is they have agents on a list, and they only hire the agents who's on their list. And a light bulb went off. And I did nothing for probably 6 months, but found every bank in the U.S. and got on their lists. I found out. I was cold calling agents that were doing REOs. What do you do? How do you do it? How do I get into it? I joined every REO professional organization. I went to all the REO conferences, and this was all happening right before it exploded. So by the time it exploded, I went from like 6 to 10 REOs to 300 in like 3 or 4 months.
Wow. How'd you system? Did you have systems in place ready to handle all that, I'm assuming?
No, so the way it was actually worked out, it was, Tom, I was coached, and I was a coach for Tom Ferry, and Tom says you either do things by design or by default. And unfortunately, it started off by default. So what happened was, on the REO stuff, I was doing all of it. So I would knock on the door, do the occupancy check, negotiate the cash for keys, negotiate to get all the repairs done, pay for that, get reimbursed. I did everything in the REO transaction. And once I got up to like 20 properties total, I had to hire somebody. And what happened was I hired a person who had done REO in a different market. And so she kind of knew everything, so it was really good. And then what would happen is we'd get 20 or 30 more. And she would say, I'm overwhelmed. I need a person to do blank. Like, I need a person to do billing. So I said, okay, go on Craigslist, hire somebody, and then I'll just pay them. We'll pay them $12 an hour, right? And that's how we grew the thing. At the time, we had 615, which was the most listings we ever had. We had 28 employees total. Wow. And that's how we do it. And like 4 people just to do billing and accounting for paying for, we had 1,800 utility bills every month, gas, water, electric. We had to pay for those and get reimbursed. So it was a big, it was nice to have 60, 70 closings in a month, but there was some, payroll was over $100,000 a month, which is, when you're a real estate broker, you're not used to that kind of cost structure. You're used to maybe an assistant. Most agents don't have an assistant, and you're not used to just you make money when you can. But this was kind of it was a big commitment. So I was very fortunate. It was kind of right place in the right time, but I did the right things to put me there. So.
And that's awesome. Most people, the old adage is either you adapt or you die, and you adapted like a champion.
Very fortunate. Probably wouldn't have stayed in business. In our market, at the peak of the market, 40% of all the listings were REOs. And if you didn't have REO listings, you had problems because we were the lowest priced thing on the market. So regular sellers weren't selling, short sales, people didn't want to deal with them. So the REOs flew off the market. So we would sell them, get new ones, put them back in the MLS for less than everybody else. And we were the only ones transacting. The nice thing from being a small company owner is we went from like 20 agents to 120 agents in about a year, because the agents knew if they came to our company, we had business. We had people coming in the door to buy our houses, and so it worked out.
Well, yeah, I mean, just the sheer volume of buyer leads coming off of yard signs must have been in what, the thousands?
Yeah, we actually, in 2009, when we were the #1 team, and it was overall for the whole nation, my wife and I did 750, because we had the REO counts in each of our names because we have different last names. So it worked out. We had the same clients, but they would give her an account, I would get an account. So we'd both get 80 Wells Fargo.
That's awesome.
Nice.
And no other person could have as many, as that. So we did 750 listing sides, and then our 12 buyer agents did about 400 buyer sides. But their phone, they would on average show 2 or 3 houses every day, each one of them. From the phone call, show up at the house, show the house, and then at every showing they were required to ask if the person wanted to make an offer. And then if they said yes, they would bring it back to the office and write it up. And if they didn't sell it was very competitive to be on the team. If they didn't have 2 closings every month, that they were removed from the team, and then we'd put a new person on the team. So, but it was not a problem for them to do that. It was because they were just the sheer number of calls with 600 signs out there with one phone number on all of them was.
Yeah, I'd imagine you didn't have to worry too much about lead conversion. That's like it's just brute force, just massive number of leads and cherry picking.
Yeah, it was a ton.
It was like straight gladiator style in that office. It's either kill or be killed. But I mean, that is just, I mean, talk about domination. But I want to ask you really quickly before Matt, goes on to the next question. What has been the ramifications from that sheer dominance when your signs were everywhere? Has it carried over? I mean, are the buyer's agents still with you guys? I mean, because a lot of folks, sometimes, they got so used to, not you guys because you did it before, but a lot of the agents that got in did REOs, they got used to just getting fed and didn't know how to go fish. Mm-hmm. So what has been the quote unquote the good fallout from all of those wonderful listing opportunities you had?
Well, we do have some great agents who are still at our company, and it's not, we're back to a 15 to 20 agent company, not a 120 agent company. But we do have some really good agents that are seasoned, because they're used to doing transactions on a high level, high number of volume, which is good because they're able to handle transactions without a ton of supervision. But really, we have had a couple people call us and say, I bought this REO, and you guys were the listing agents, and you obviously did a good job selling it, and then they would call myself or my wife to list the house for them again, and it blew us away. We didn't know these people were, and I was talking to Tom Ferry about this once, and he said, Todd, you need to market to all of those people. You need to just, yes. I was the agent that listed your house. If you ever sell, you need to call me back because I know more about your house than anybody else, kind of a thing. And we just had people call us, but it's not like, we had a large market presence, and most agents knew my name and my wife's name, and still mostly my wife's name because the Fannie and Freddie account, all the listings right now are in her name. So she still has for her side, she has a ton of business out there. And I'm just focused on homing in right now, really.
Well, I'm curious, like what, just like from a systems perspective and the perspective of running an actual business, like having that kind of demand, that kind of, like the lead flow and the listing inventory, just forcing you to develop the systems that can handle that capacity, did that carry over and have benefits now, even though your team is technically smaller, it's back to quote-unquote a normal market, but did it make a difference in the way that your team operates and how efficient you are?
Yeah, because there are very few surprises, and we're able to cut a lot of stuff off. Like something will happen, and we'll just go, oh, we can totally see what's getting ready to happen with this. And so we take measures now to stop some stupid thing from happening in a couple weeks because we have this ridiculous amount of experience from having done so many transactions from one side with a bank client. So I don't, we don't like work the system, but we know how the system works, and it's just the experience thing. If you have an experienced doctor performing surgery, he can see, hey, if I do this, this may be the complication, so I'll do this first, and then I'll do this, right? And we just take that same process. That's the benefit for us.
Yeah, it's like any seasoned agent. I mean, you go through a couple of downfalls, but then you can smell it coming down the road. You can see he's saying the issues like we can do with our team as well. You're like, I smell a problem, and that's the most powerful thing.
And the biggest thing is, REO boom in Vegas, because we're sort of like ground central for REO because there was a ton of it here, was that at one time there were probably 200 to 300 agents that were doing REO as their core business, and right now it's probably 30.
Really?
And we're one of the survivors because we did it smart, and banks were firing agents for not performing well, not having good numbers, banks. Somebody like Fannie will fire somebody if they don't submit their reimbursements on time. They'll say, hey, you had too many submitted outside of 60 days, we're getting rid of you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, kudos to you, man. Todd, that's huge, brother. I'm so glad that you guys are still going strong with that.
Yeah, it's...
So what are you guys carrying right now in terms of listings?
20 listings, predominantly Fannie Mae.
Nice.
As far as REO, we do have regular listings. We have just regular consumers, most of which came from... a lot of them come from the video blog.
No, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to dig into that whole video blog, given that I have to go to Facebook Live Anonymous, and because I am so addicted to video, and it's if I'm not on camera a minimum of one time a day, it's I get itchy, and I break out in hives, and I then have to call and vent to Matt, and Matt hates that.
Good. Good.
So I'm really interested to hear about this.
You know, we did a radio show for a year here in town to get business, right, to get listings, and it was fun. But we ended up we quit the show when the REO took off. We're like, hey, we're getting some business from this, but this REO thing is really the core. So let's ditch that other thing. And at one point, a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, who was doing his Wine Library TV, went to a Tom Ferry event, and like the very next. Like every coaching call I had with every client was, I want to do a video blog, I want to do a video blog, I want to do a video blog. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do one too, because I can't coach you on how to do this if I'm not doing it, getting good at it, learning all the ins and outs of video. And the next thing I knew, you know, after probably 150 to 200 videos, where I'm just sticking them on YouTube and on my WordPress site, and not really getting much out of it, but I kept doing them. And then I was doing it mostly for my own enjoyment, right? But at the time, we were just killing it with REO, so it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
In the store, a guy walks up to me, and I'm in my gym gear. I just come out of the gym, and he goes, hey, you're the guy that does all those videos. And I was like you actually watch those? He goes, yeah, I love them. I watch them all the time. And then the calls started coming. Hey, you know, my wife loves your video blog. She says she won't let anyone else sell her house but you. And I was getting all these come list me calls. And the great thing about it was the videos were all 5 to 10 minutes. I've got it down to a total of like 20 minutes from starting my camera, turning it off, plugging it in, trimming off the ends, stick it on YouTube, grab the link, stick it in my blog, done, and a video is out there. And they're not super high, you know, they're not highly produced. I don't use the teleprompter. I just turned my flip cam on a thing and I talked. And I got 2 clients out of it that each did over 50 transactions. They were investors who were like, hey, I'm seeing your stuff.
Wow.
Investor came in and said, we've got all this money to deploy. We're not physically here. We just want you to send us the deals. So each one of them got assigned an agent. That agent did nothing full-time, but went to all the houses, previewed them, picked out the couple that would be the best, like the $70,000 house that would get $900 a month in rent, and then send them the contract. And then that one would close, and then we'd hand it off to a property manager to manage. Wow. So it ended up being 500 plus videos and probably 130 or 40 total transaction sides out of it. Not a lot of work.
So go ahead.
So maybe like for every 3 videos or 4 videos, I got a deal out of it.
That's incredible. Now, just so people understand this, because they're sitting there going, this is bullshit. I can do videos and I can talk, but you know what? I would like, just break it down for me, the basic format that you used. I'm assuming there was a strong call to action with, at the end of every video. What kind of content did you go over? Was it the process of buying a home? Was it things to help out around the house? What were those subject matters that you found to be so effective?
Sometimes it would be just something that happened. Like one time in our office, one of our agents came in and said, I've got this listing, and somebody knocked on his door and said, I just bought your house at the foreclosure on the HOA foreclosure. They bought it for $5,000. And he owned it free and clear. And he goes, yeah, well, I was in default on my HOA because they were fining me. I just said, screw you, I'm not paying you. Well, in Nevada, the HOA can foreclose on you. Yeah. So the HOA foreclosed, some investor bought it, and actually he owned the house free and clear. And this guy was out. She should have just paid his HOA, because we're a super priority state. So I did a video saying, hey, look, if you get a HOA, this is what can happen. I'm not an attorney, talk to an attorney, but here's an anecdotal thing that happened. Don't blow off when the HOA starts sending you those nasty, posting those things on your door saying you're going to the trustee sale.
And they'll do it too. They're mean sons of bitches.
Yeah, and in Nevada, the Supreme Court said last year that they wipe out the liens. So they wiped out the banks, and the banks were freaking out because basically they said the HOA was established before there was a loan on the property. So because technically the HOA's right to the property happened before the banks, they wiped their priority. They wiped those out. So these investors that bought hundreds of houses for $3,000 have like hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate assets in Nevada now that the loans are just wiped out. Like instant, like super billionaires almost.
Goodness.
I need a time machine to go back in time.
I tell you what, I would have bought because, well, you know, I looked at doing this because we were flipping houses, and really the money to be made was you get the house for $3,000 to $5,000, and if it's vacant, you just put a renter in it, and you just collect $1,000 a month for a year, whatever it takes the bank to foreclose, and when the bank forecloses, you've rent skimmed maybe $12,000, and you're only out the $3,000 to $5,000. But the ones that rolled the dice and waited for the court, because it went to the Supreme Court a couple times, and then the third time was the one they said, you know what, in this scenario, they've wiped out all the loans. And
wow,
yeah.
that is unbelievable. I mean, talk about a gamble. I mean, I have always wanted to get into the flipping whole thing, but I would have done it a little bit differently. But if I had known that was, I don't think California has that law. I don't think we can do that.
Yeah.
Because I would have remembered that one.
No kidding. Somebody else is who are foreclosure, the whole thing is modeled after. I think it's Wyoming or Montana or somebody else does it that way. So we just happen to have a lot of HOAs here in Nevada.
Note to self, go to Wyoming, Montana, or Nevada next time the banks crash and go talk to every HOA and buy them dinner.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you guys want cash to get those houses and get your dues back? I have $10 million in a bag right here. Let's do this.
All right, Tom, so let's talk about just in terms of like how you promoted the video blog and how you kind of got visitors, viewers, watchers, listeners. So were you reaching out to an existing database already? Were you just pushing it out through like Facebook and social media?
You know what I did was I took I went on Fiverr, right? For $5, I just would say, hey, transcribe my video and send me the guest me, guest me, and all the words, right? And I would paste that into the text underneath the video. So the search engine would read all the text and it would index and I would make the title like really sexy, like, how to get, how to buy houses under market value, stuff like that, right? And then people would, so what was happening was I was just using Google and SEO and YouTube because inherently the videos show up. So it was just that I didn't do active promotion. It was all passive stuff. People would just start searching around, and what they would all tell me is, I saw a video, and then I saw another video, and then I saw another video, and I realized, you have a lot of videos. You must know what you're talking about. I sort of just, there was no huge call to action. I didn't, like, my number didn't flash on the screen. I didn't do any silly stuff like that. They figured on the main page of my blog, it had my information. They could call me if they wanted to. If someone wants to find you, they're going to find you. And if you just type in my name into Google, Todd Miller, Las Vegas real estate, man, my phone number's everywhere. So these people had no problem getting in touch with me.
That's the coolest thing. So many people that I talk to. Like I am the head trainer for our brokerage here in the 680 corridor, and I was talking about video today. And they had the look of terror on their faces. But if they could hear your story, it's like, look, dipshit. Every third video, I got a freaking deal. You sure you don't want to get in front of a camera? And you don't have to go talk to another human. All you do is talk to a camera. I am in utter awe. I mean, I've done hundreds of videos with Viral. I've done hundreds of things with Matt. And you know what? I have to change my model a little bit. I'm going to start following some of your model. I love what you were talking about, like real life scenario, live fire things that were taking place today. Not research stuff. You're just like, oh yeah, my agent ran into this that happened. You could lose your house for three grand. Go pay your HOAs, dumbass. But that's
one of the things you struggle the most with when you try to get someone to do video content is to get them to do something that's actually relevant and timely. Like everybody wants to put in the least amount of effort, so they want to just line up and like bang out 6 or 10 videos all at once, just be like in advance, and then just drip them out over the course of the year. But you miss that timeliness, right? Yeah, and that's what people are looking for. So I mean, if you shoot something, whether it's especially if you can capitalize on a current event, whether it's a Fed rate hike or whatever, like a stock market fluctuation, whatever, the more that you can like piggyback your videos onto something that's actually happening right now that people care about, the more you're likely you are to be found. But Todd, you mentioned something there that's also really important, and one of the reasons why our podcast has done well is because we're obviously they're filmed and streamed to YouTube, but we don't just stream the video there. They're the whole write-up and with all the tags, keyword, like the whole YouTube channel. For if you look at Real Estate Uncensored, that thing is keyworded out like to the balls to the wall. You cannot stuff anymore. Like, I mean, it would get to the point of keyword stuffing if I stuffed any more keywords in there.
Just get in there.
Yes,
the search engines are smart about that.
Yeah, they are smart about that. So it's organic. It has to be natural. Like for example, the playlist that we have actually have titles that make sense to a human being with descriptions that read like a normal human being would read, but it has keywords in there because it actually is content that our target market would care about. And so that's really important that I think people assume or they expect that when you just throw content out there that people will find it, but you do have to make an effort in terms of making it easy for search engines like Google to figure out what you're posting about so that when somebody is looking for content like that, Google knows to serve up your stuff. Like it doesn't happen just by magic.
No, there's a recipe.
Yeah. But that is very important. So if you put up stuff on YouTube, follow that pattern. Obviously, you can look at Greg's real estate video blog, the McDaniel Callahan team on YouTube, and you'll see the same thing. It's all very well keyworded. It's structured really nicely, so that when people are looking for stuff in his neck of the woods, they find his video blog, which is very, very important. But there's another point, Todd, which is the consistency over time, right, of putting those videos out. How huge that is for your credibility. I mean, it's just massive. I can't imagine like somebody just randomly searching for agents or stumbling across your name and going and finding a video blog with just 5-6 years of video content.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's got to be it must just absolutely destroy any question of your credibility.
Yeah, I was told once, don't be afraid to look stupid, right? And I spent 14 years in the U.S. military. I really don't care if someone thinks I'm doing something stupid, but like I went on an occupancy check with my camera and like holding it up, going, okay, this is me. I'm gonna walk up and knock on the door. This person's in default, right? So I walk up and I'm like got the camera down and I knock on the door and she answers and like we have the conversation and she's like, oh no, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, well, you're gonna have to relocate. I can help you with that. And it was kind of she blew me off thing. And then I walked back and I put the camera back up and said, hey, she kind of blew me off, but I'm gonna keep coming back and bugging her, kind of a thing. And that thing got like a ton of views because it was real and it was super. Like, it's not steady. I was just like holding the camera up and, walking around with it and stuff. And we've done lockouts. I've got one where I show everybody how to pick a lock because we got a new assignment. To get into your
own listing?
Yeah, it was our own listing. And the key had disappeared. Someone had stolen the lock. We didn't have the e-box. We just had the mechanical. Someone had broken it off. So my wife's like, oh, I can't even get inside now to take my picture. So I was with her, and I just whipped out my thing and said, hold the camera. I'm going to show how to pick a lock. And I jiggled with it for about 30 seconds, and I opened the door, and then, that was my video, how to pick a lock. So
all cat burglars.
Yeah.
That is really pretty fun. All cat burglars, please check out that video and stay away from my house.
It's
all
not
legal agents.
Yeah. It's not all making fun of Zillow. I think I have like 2 videos where I've been talking about Zillow. It's mostly just general real estate stuff,
Well, yeah, and it's funny because you obviously bring that up, but the genesis of the video was not to go after Zillow in a negative way necessarily. It was just born out of frustration in the moment and just sitting down and recording your thoughts like in the moment about what was going on in your business, which is a good lesson for anybody on their video blog. Just talk about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
If you're passionate, like when I did that video, we had just had the buyer. The agent called and said, they're canceling because a friend of theirs that they told about the house went on Zillow, saw the Zestimate, said, dude, you're overpaying. They said, well, there were like 5 or 6 offers, and everyone was paying offering over the list price, but you're overpaying. It's not worth that. Zillow says it's only worth this. And we lost. Now, we did sell the house to somebody else, but that person didn't buy the house, and we had to carry the house for another month while we went back to a different buyer. And this was like 3 weeks into the deal.
It's such a pain.
So I was just frustrated.
Yeah,
that's such a pain in the rear. Or my favorite is when seller, like you've experienced when the seller goes, well, that's not what Zillow says that my home was worth. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, that talk.
Yeah, we digress. All right, so in the few minutes that we have remaining, let's get back to the Homing In app, and let's talk about it from both sides in terms of the experience of using it. So let's go into the consumer side. So what is it? I guess what's the experience like for a consumer once they download it and once they hear about it? What are they hearing? and then downloading, and then what's their experience like from their perspective to get the estimates from the agents?
The biggest thing for the consumer side is that it's a new thing to them. There's nothing like this that exists out there. They're used to plug in their address, hit a button, a number pops up, right? And they're a little hesitant to want to take pictures because they feel like, hey, this is a little privacy. I'm not sure where this is going. So what most people do is they don't take any pictures. They just select their address and send it in, right? But when agents respond, it's very positive because I get to read what the agents say and the prices that they come up with, and it's amazing. You can tell the agents are doing two things. One, they're trying to give good information, like, hey, based on yours is just like another house that just sold on this date for this amount. That's really good information. And then it's a little selling. If you're interested in finding out more or you want a more detailed, just give me a call and I can come over and we can chat. That's like the typical format. So the consumer does get that the agent is selling to them a little bit, but really it's about the information. We're building in something in the app where the agent and consumer basically anonymously without, just can talk, like some messaging. Like the agent can say, hey, look, you took no pictures. I can help you. Right now I can guess between 310 and 360, but I can get a much better accurate if you'll just go take some pictures. And then the consumer will see that and go, okay, I'll take the pictures because now I see there's an actual agent on the other end who really is telling me he needs some better information. And that's just part of the growing process of developing an app like this and making it so that it's a tool that consumers will use, have a good experience with, and tell their friends about, and then hopefully they'll only use this to go and find agents to list their houses.
Yeah, it's a higher level, it's a better quality of the Zillow Make Me Move where the seller gets on, does a hope and poke, but they're dictating the price on Make Me Move. This one, they're actually wanting an actual inquiry of a real price, not like, I'm in a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, I'll move for $1 million. You're like, I'm sure you would. But I mean, these are, I think this is going to be a much more qualified lead coming through. And as we're talking, I am adding in all my zip codes, by the way. And it's very cool. This map system, it shows you where they are, it colors them down for you. It's really cool.
My CTO actually came up with that. He was like, hey, I don't like the way you're doing it right now. Let me try something. And it took him 2 days, and then he sent me a build, and I was like, wow, Josh, this is awesome. I love it.
Dude, no, it's seriously, I love it. I'm like, what is this thing doing? Holy shit, it's doing that. And this is so cool. It's color coordinating. I'm not overbooking. This is awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so we've just got a couple minutes left, so let's talk about the agent's perspective. So let's say that we hit a tipping point. The app is out there in the public consciousness in your area. So you're starting to get requests for home values. They're in your neighborhood. They're in your zip codes that you want to target. So what would you do to help yourself stand out and to make sure that you give yourself the best chance of being the one that they contact outside of just giving them the price that they want to hear, while still being authentic, still giving them the right price that it'll actually sell for? What are some things that they can do to kind of set themselves apart?
I think the first thing is having a full profile, a picture, all their information, responding quickly. We serve them up to the consumer in the order they came in. So the first one that'll always show up was the first one that came in.
Nice.
So if you respond within 15 minutes and you have a lot of information you pass on to them, you're made an impression in that person versus 3 agents 2 days later all respond. Eventually, and also being accurate, because we are going to, as we gather more data, if we find out one agent is 15% higher because he's gaming the system trying to impress the seller with he thinks he can get him a higher number, we're going to start sharing that with the seller and finding an interesting way to basically, and this is from Christian, my partner, it's kind of his brainchild, is the best agent. I only want the best agents, Todd, working on this. And he's really excited about that. So we're going to maybe pair it off that if your values are off compared to other agents, if 6 agents say 300 grand and you say 330, maybe we don't serve yours up in the future. Maybe we say, hey, your values aren't close, and we just reward the agents that are giving good information. I don't know how to do that exactly. It's free for now, and at some point, probably in the next couple months, we're going to start charging $99 a month for agents to use it. But right now it's for free. There's no reason to not download the app and try it out and see if there's some people out there looking in your area to sell.
I am literally doing that as we speak. What's a good number of zip codes that an agent should enter to get the best possible returns?
You know, I think whatever zip code you're comfortable in. Right now, we probably only get like 6 to 10 consumer downloads a day. They're all over the country. Tend to be more on the West Coast. We get them in like
Sweet.
we get them in. We've get them in every. We've had them in every state by now. But you know, once the other versions are out, Android web, we're going to start some more significant marketing. I've been working really hard to get this featured on the Apple App Store because Apple really likes free consumer apps like this that are valuable, and they're excited about this. So that's something that, fingers crossed, can happen in the next month. Because if that happens, there's going to be at least 100,000 downloads, and there are going to be home value requests coming in all over the country. And these agents are just, we get them almost every day now in Vegas. So
sweet.
That is awesome. I am eating up my entire 680 corridor. I'm going to dominate with your app.
And when agents pay, we're using half of the money they pay just to do targeted mobile advertising in their markets. So if they pay $99 a month, we're going to spend basically 50 of that a month and just do some to get consumers, focusing on the consumer. And we have one other cool thing for the consumer. If a consumer uses the app and they hire an agent that they got from the app, and then that agent sells the house, we're going to give the consumer $100 from us, not from the agent. We're going to give them $100.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I hope I have to give $100 every like 10 minutes to a consumer for hiring one of the agents they got through the app.
Hey, I have Matt. I have a Facebook question coming in from Josh Bryan for Todd.
Okay.
Hold on, what's coming up on my thing? Can you ask him to clarify that it's free for agents now? The website shows $99.
Yeah, that's so. Yeah, it's free. It's just download the app. It doesn't cost you anything to use it. We put that out because we were building in the pay system, and we ran into. We made a decision to wait until it was available on Android and web before we did that, because we're running into a problem with transacting through the app.
Okay.
With Apple, meaning there's actually a problem. It's not as easy as we thought it was going to be. I would call that fair warning. It's free for now, I promise. And even when it is pay, you can still use the app, but when you try to respond, it'll just say, "Hey, this is a paid service. You'll have to pay." And there'll be a web way to do that.
If you get it after you go live, but if you get it now free, it will stay free for the agents that are early adopters?
No. Just as in a couple months from now, when it flips over to being paid, whenever that is, then at that point, if you just downloaded the free version, when you pull it up and try to respond, it'll tell you it's a paid service. You won't be able to respond to home sellers.
And we will, for the early adopters, we're going to have a number. I don't know if it's 500 or 1,000, but that $99 amount won't change for those agents. And when we get to a tipping point where we raise the price, we're going to lock those agents in at that price as long as they remain continuous users. So if we end up doing $199, $299, $399, or breaking it out by zip code or whatever, we're never changing. It'll be $99 a month for those agents.
Nice. So okay. So
that's
here's
like our future plan.
So I've downloaded all of my different apps. I've dominated my marketplace. I'm going to be even more of a rock star. Now, how the heck do I get out of the map? So I'm here. Do I hit that little red X at the top?
Yeah, just X out. It's not a great UI. It's a makeshift thing that's in there right now. The web version will be more. Now, which screen are you on now? Are you on the main screen?
Yeah, I went back to the sign up screen. I'm going to put my photo in and everything else.
Put everything in, and then when you sign up, it'll take you to the page, and if anybody has requested a value in those zip codes, it'll just show up. And it's easy to go. You'll see it. Just guide you through it.
Okay. Well, check this out, guys. At live. Okay. Now I got a photo for my.
Yay!
Holy cow! I'm greasy.
Yeah.
Okay.
You look good, man.
Yeah. Don't look like the creepy greasy.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Well, Todd, thank you so much for coming on. This has been awesome. I appreciate your time and sharing the app. So hopefully people go out and download it. And is it just best for them to go directly to the App Store?
Yeah, just go to the App Store. Just go in and type in homing, and it says what's my home worth. That's the easiest way to do it. When web and Android are available, we'll let you know. You can tell the people out there, and we'll be doing more marketing at that point. We're kind of in pre-launch. It's soft launch. That's why you're seeing like it says $99, but I'm saying it's free and all that.
That's cool. It's a really besides the mapping, having to back out with the red X. Besides that, it's extremely easy to use. Um, I'm actually I really like it. I really like it. The UI is not as bad as some of the other apps that I've seen. So very cool.
Yeah, our goal is to make it the easiest, most popular What's My Home Worth tool. That's really what we're trying to do. We want to make money. There's no question there, but we just want the easiest way for consumers to connect with agents to provide them professional information. I think it's something that the market could use, and I appreciate you guys for letting me come on here and sort of promote it and share it. And I think the real winners will be the early adopters who are the only person in their little town using it and getting all the listings from it.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what Gary Vaynerchuk talks about with social media is just, keep doing your thing, but keep an eye out on the things that are emerging, and once you see something taken off, double down and jump on it, and this could be one of those things, and why not? I mean, we'd rather, Zillow and guys like that kind of jumped in and took buyer lead generation out of the hands of the agents, so it'd be nice if we built our own tool to do the same thing for seller lead gen, so it's not some outside company coming in and then charging us back for our own leads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing. This is all that we don't take anybody's listings to then market them. This is all consumer generated stuff. Like we're doing the work to get the consumers to come to us and then funnel them to all the agents.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is very cool. This is very, very cool, and I'm glad you guys built it. The industry has needed something like this for a long time.
That's right.
Matt and Greg both, thank you very much. I'm just so thrilled that you had me on the show. And
appreciate it. Yep. Well, cool. Well, we'll wrap this up real quick. Remember to subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher, depending on whether you want the video or audio versions. And Greg, just real quick, what's the McDaniel Challenge phone number?
McDaniel Challenge is going to change your lives, guys, and the number you're going to call it on is 925-915-1978. Remember, it's a life-changing experience for the best.
All right. Well, with that, we've got Jeff Cohn coming up in 2 days, Friday at 11 a.m. We're talking about zero and low-cost marketing strategies for teams, so that's going to be a killer episode, so make sure to join us for that one. But until then, appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.
All right, guys. Love you. Bye.